Lumkile Mondi is still with me from the IDC, as well as Kay Walsh from Deloitte. Lumkile, let's start off with this whole notion of industrialization versus deindustrialization. It seems that some would argue we've actually deindustrialized ourselves in many instances, and given the fact that you are here to ensure that we increase industrial capacity, tell me what government is doing right and wrong.
I think, for us it's very important to localize manufacturing, particularly that's linked to both the ESCOM as well as Transnet expenditure program. However, the challenge is whether, given our high cost structure, whether South Africa can really efficiently deliver that package, given the emphasis on the budget that want to make sure that we're getting fair prices from the suppliers. So the argument is that maybe certain capabilities should be located outside South Africa, maybe around our neighbors where the cost structure is cheaper, but make sure that ESCOM can deliver electricity to those areas. This is an issue that I think South Africa, particularly DTI, is not contesting very seriously because as China, as the minister mentioned, that China is going to be taking away over 80 million jobs to other areas. Similar, South Africa should also face that reality if we have a very strong, vibrant manufacturing sector, because in certain areas, despite the goodwill of trying to support Transnet and ESCOM, we may find that actually industrializing here is much more expensive than in Botswana or in Zimbabwe.
So, Kay, we know that there's going to be support from the manufacturing sector. We know there's going to be special economic zones that are going to be created. Is this enough, or do you think it's just a drop in the ocean?
Well, we saw firstly that there was about 6 billion allocated to a manufacturing competitiveness program. It's essentially, from what we understand, a sort of a bailout program for manufacturing industries that are currently in trouble due to the financial crisis. So that's going to be run by the DTI. And I think, the problem there is it's going to be certain industries that are targeted that are seen to be vulnerable. So it's a case of picking, I guess, vulnerable industries. And in terms of the general economic zones, it's 2.3 billion rand allocated over 3 years. And these industrial development zones have been underperforming. So it's not clear that, the 500 million rand this year is going to make a substantial difference. I think one also has to look at why those zones aren't delivering on what they aim to deliver on.
And surely, when you actually look at it collectively, the amount of money that is going to be spent across the board within that space should actually create jobs. Surely that should also be the intention.
Yes, well, I think, the manufacturing competitiveness program is really aimed at protecting existing jobs. And I think, it's the 844 billion allocated to infrastructure that's really aimed at creating the jobs, creating the space for companies
that's
to
quite
grow
a scary
and expand.
scenario, Lumkile. Here we are trying to protect jobs actually within the manufacturing space.
We saw it with the textile support program, which is working very well, by the way, particularly in terms of making sure that there's retooling, because a lot of the textile producers were using old technology. So we've seen a huge take-up at the IDC because we're managing that.
And I know the IDC is actually really one of the proponents of securing and ensuring that we keep our textile industry intact in South Africa.
But the challenge is that, can you sustain it going forward? So what's going to happen is that once these companies have retooled, whether they'll be able to offer good prices, as Seafood Shini has bought some companies, but is linking up upstream as well. So whether through the support of companies like Fushini and others, these companies will survive, it remains to be seen in the medium term. At the moment, we're very happy. The take-up is good. It's working. With sustainability, question mark.
Okay, so what about beneficiation across the board? I'm not only talking about the textile industry. I'm talking about across the board when it comes to the mining sector. It seems that we are lagging behind a lot of the countries, our emerging market peers, perhaps slightly ahead of what we see in the rest of Africa, but we could actually do some more work in this regard.
This for us, particularly the IDC.
And it's not really mentioned in the budget.
He mentioned a bit about it, that, during this boom, this commodity boom, our mining, which is our foundation, is our strength, hasn't been utilized effectively. Something around those lines you mentioned. I think, here, that's where the IDCs become very, very important. That is, for every project that the IDC is involved in, for example, whether it's a platinum project, want to make sure that there's a smelter next to it. From the smelter, there is an industrialization process that is making either batteries using some of the platinum products, etc. So it's a real change, a game changer that the IDC and the government need to get involved in. However, this cannot be done by the IDC alone. We need the state to come in, we need private sector to come in, because the private sector will be the driver and the beneficiary of the downstream beneficiation.
I called it the big elephant in the room a little earlier. Mining tax, not a mention, not once. But a lot of talk about, as Lumkile was saying, that we haven't benefited from the commodity boom. So in a sense, at the beginning of the speech, you had this, view that, okay, it's going to be mentioned somewhere in the speech, but no mention at all.
Yeah, so I think government is probably still working with the mining industry around and that proposal, which is still better than earlier proposals of nationalisation and so on. But obviously they've also recognised that we haven't benefited like Australia has from the commodity boom because of these constraints in our infrastructure. So we simply haven't been able to get the commodity to market. So it is interesting to see government investing on behalf to support these industries, but at the same time, on the other hand, mentioning that they want to increase mineral royalties and so on.
I'm going to sneak another question in. NHI, very quickly. No real news, the same kind of story that has actually been filtering through over the past while.
We still have to box on the NHI, so I'm very happy. We still have to engage the government, we still have to exchange blows, and eventually...
Are you pro or against?
I've got reservation. My reservations are based on the capacity of the state. I have no confidence on the capacity of the state to deliver effective medicine. I've got no confidence.
Pro or against NHI?
I also have reservations. I think if it's implemented to encourage more private sector involvement and delivery of health services, it might actually deliver some benefits. But if there aren't improvements in the public health system that go along with it, we're in trouble.
We have to say goodbye. Thank you very much to both of you for joining us. Great to have you on the program as usual. Thank you so much, Lumkile Mondi from the IDC and, of course, Walsh from Deloitte.